Hello and welcome to another Cheeky Scientist live training. I'm Isaiah Henkel, and today we are talking about informational interview mistakes. We'll touch on mistakes first and then questions. What are the questions you want to ask? So what is an informational interview and who do you interview during an informational interview? First of all, informational interviews are interviews that you set up to discover if a position is right for you or to learn more about a particular job position. And it's a very effective way to get actual interviews for a job. So if you've been uploading resumes online and not hearing anything back, or if you've been networking but not getting any referrals, the step you're likely missing is setting up informational interviews. Where does this step fit into the overall job search process? After networking and adding value to a particular industry professional or building up your network on LinkedIn, you want to move to the step of setting up an informational interview. This can be as simple as a 5-minute call with someone that's currently working at a company you're interested in or in a field you're interested in, or it could be a sit down. It could be a lunch or even a cup of coffee with somebody. And very often these informational interviews turn into actual interviews, but only if you do them right. And to set up an effective informational interview, it starts right when you reach out. It starts during that networking phase when you start contacting someone who's working at a company who you're interested in interviewing. Okay, and one of the biggest mistakes that PhDs make when they try to set up their first informational interview is that they just reach out to somebody they don't know, or reach out to somebody without getting an introduction first, or reach out to somebody and ask for a favor, which is the informational interview. This is something you shouldn't do. Instead, you need to add value. So don't make the mistake of asking first or too soon. If you meet somebody for the first time, you haven't really built up a rapport. Maybe you just met them once at a networking event. You talked to them for a couple of minutes. At least follow up with them online a couple of times and add value, right? Compliment their work or their recent promotion, whatever it might be. But make sure you're adding that value. We've done other videos on adding value. You do have a lot of value to add. You can comment on a publication that they have. You can read their LinkedIn profile or get involved in the same LinkedIn group. Build that rapport first before getting them to commit to an informational interview, because it is a commitment. So again, don't make the mistake of asking for the informational interview the first time you meet somebody or the first time you reach out to them on LinkedIn. Build that rapport first, add value first. The second mistake that most PhDs make is they don't clarify the time and topic commitment. Okay, that's always a mistake. You need to make time-dependent and topic-dependent requests. Okay, time-dependent and topic-dependent requests. This means that when you get to the point of asking for an informational interview, you need to lower the intensity of the request, right? Lower the commitment level. Don't make it seem like it's a very big formal deal. What you might want to do is call someone up on the phone and say, I'm going to be in the area and I'd love to stop by and talk to you for 5 minutes, right? Or it was great catching up with you at the networking event. Do you have time for a 5-minute call? Or, I'm going to be in the area anyway. Can I drop by with a cup of coffee and ask you a couple of questions, right? So lower the intensity of the request. Make it informal, because an informational interview should be informal. It's a discussion. So it needs to be time dependent. If you're sending a message, make sure you say, do you have time to talk for 5 minutes? I have just 3 questions. Right? Be very specific with the time and even the number of questions you're going to ask. And then tell them the topic of the question, right? Tell them that you have 3 questions that you want to ask them about their current job because you're very interested in getting into the industry. Don't say, I want a job and I want you to give me a referral. Instead, just show your enthusiasm for the position. Say, I'm really interested in this job, I'm really interested in this field, and I would love to learn more about it. Do you have 5 minutes? I just have 3 questions I'd love to ask you, mostly on the company culture and your experience in the role. Okay, so again, don't make the mistake of not clarifying the time or topic commitment. Third and finally, very big mistake, do not interrogate, right? As PhDs, sometimes we can get very intense. We write out 15 or 500 questions on a legal pad, and then we show up like we're a police officer or a lawyer, interrogating them or deposing them, right? You don't want it to come off this way. Instead, you want to have some questions written down and prepared, but maybe you don't even show that you have the questions written down. Just memorize them in your head and then have a conversation, right? Sit down, have a conversation, know a few of the questions you're going to ask, and let them take the conversation to where they want to take it, right? If they start veering off track and talking about something that wasn't on your question list to begin with, so be it. Let it go. Remember, the most important part of an informational interview is setting up that relationship so that you have someone you can ask for a referral down the road, because they've met you in person, they've talked to you, you have more rapport now, they're working at that company. Now you can ask them after the informational interview for any other people they can introduce you to, right? Anybody else that might be worthwhile for you to talk to, right? So put the relationship first. You want to approach it more like you're a journalist, not a lawyer, not a police officer. Okay, so ask questions, let them talk, let them take the conversation to where they want to take it. Okay, so what about those questions? Even if you're doing it correctly, you should have some questions in mind that you want to ask for your informational interviews. And there are 5 types of questions that you should be focused on. The first one is all about preparation. Okay, so how did they prepare for the job that they currently have? How did they actually get the job that they have? What did the onboarding process look like? What did the application process look like? Learn as much as you can in this realm, because this is where you are at currently, right? You're going through the job search process. They might tell you, look, you need to know somebody on the inside to get a job here, but make sure you also upload a resume because that formality is taken very seriously. And if you don't, the hiring manager will be turned off by it, right? That kind of information is very valuable. Maybe you can find out whether or not they like a separate sheet of publications submitted, or whether they don't want any publications submitted to the hiring manager. These are the insights you should be looking for that pertain to these preparation questions. Current fit. Okay, so what are their current responsibilities? Where do they currently fit in the company? What are they currently doing in the company? Those kind of questions are really important, because as job candidates, sometimes you can be trying to fit yourself into a position when you also need to be assessing that position and whether or not that position fits to you. Okay, so asking these questions is very powerful, and it shows that you're not just going to take any job, right? It shows that you're evaluating the position and whether or not that position's right for you. Third, future fit. Okay, so what does the career trajectory look like? The person you're talking to, usually they'll love to talk about this, right? Because it's on their mind. They want to know when their next promotion is. They want to know where their career is going. So you need to ask them, okay, you're here now, what does the trajectory look like? Where have other project managers gone after that initial position? Where have other research scientists gone, right? Where have other people in this position gone after? What do those job titles look like? Where are you planning on going next? Both vertically and laterally. Can you cross departments at this company? Can you go from a regulatory affairs position to a medical science liaison position? Right? These kind of questions are under this future fit umbrella. Company fit, right? What is the company culture like? Right, so we talked about your fit with the current position, but what is your fit in the company? You really need to ask company culture questions. This will show that you understand the importance of the overall team, the overall framework of the company. You can ask questions like processes, right? Do people call each other in the office? Or do they use instant messenger to talk? Do they use email to talk? That is a type of culture question you can ask. You can ask, is it okay to show up when you want, or is everybody pretty strict? Do most people get there early in the morning? What's the normal attitude with this? How many meetings do you have? What does your typical week look like? Make sure that you're asking culture questions. And then finally, lifestyle questions. Most people know to ask these, but you're going to want to ask, how often do you have to travel? No matter what the position is, there might be some travel there, even if it's just to the annual conference that company has, the annual sales conference, the annual company conference. You want to ask, what do the hours look like? Are people expected to just work 8 hours and then pack it up and go home? Or for this particular position, are you expected to work 12 hours, 13 hours? Right? There's a lot of people who consider certain job titles like management consultant or MSL until they realize they have to travel 7 days a week as an MSL, or they have to work for weeks at a time, 18-hour days as a management consultant. So make sure you're asking about the lifestyle and letting them, again, take that conversation to where they take it. That's where you'll get your best insights. So again, make sure you're setting up informational interviews. More than anything else, these will lead to job referrals, which, more than anything else, lead to actual job offers. Just make sure you're not making these 3 big mistakes, and make sure that you're asking these questions. If you want to know how to reach out to somebody for an informational interview, if you want it broken down, if you want to get some of our templates, We've written these out for you, and we've put them into a new ebook, which you can get at phdsgethired.com. So go to phdsgethired.com now. You can get 40 networking scripts. There's a whole section of scripts on how to reach out to people for informational interviews. This takes us to the end of this live training. We'll see you next week for another live training. Thank you.